Now joining me, as always, with a recap on the latest school board meetings is a Holyoke School Superintendent, John McCleary. Mr. McCleary, how you been?
Good, Marc. How are you doing?
Doing good.
Good.
So you're surviving the up and down yo-yo of the weather?
Yeah. I've been mostly hunched over a computer. It's always the same temp with those things.
Right.
Yeah. It seems like it's clouding up outside though. I don't know what it's supposed to do.
Who knows with the way this fall has been.
Yeah, no kidding.
As the board did meet, not this past Tuesday night, but the Tuesday before, and then met this last Monday night because of school board elections. We'll get to that in just a moment. As started off with the update on the Student-Centered Accountability Project.
Yeah, so as you know, that's the new accountability project that the district's undertaking, and that's a charge from the school district this year, the school board, which is to explore the Student-Centered Accountability Project, look at how it impacts the district, look at what the fit is, and to really charge our employees with getting involved, and so folks have gone to two different accountability updates now, one down in Kit Carson, and then one in Buena Vista. There was kind of an update there, but mostly that update was focused around what we're working on and where we're going. And I sort of wanted to take the opportunity to just touch on what we've settled on as a school district, using shared leadership as a guideline, the school board as a guideline, and then our administrative council as well. So we've got four priorities that we'll be looking at in the next 3 to 5 years. The first is establishing and implementing aligned curriculum that optimizes instruction and ensures student learning. So that's developing a curriculum that doesn't have any gaps. We've talked about this quite a bit actually on the radio because even with our Standards of Excellence report last year about attracting and maintaining high quality people, one of the suggestions was to give teachers a really good solid curriculum that they can work off of. So developing and aligning a curriculum with no gaps, no unnecessary overlaps that represent important and demanding understandings with the educational processes and all the different subject areas. Including the reflection from students and then an effectiveness of instruction. So that was our first priority. The second one is enhancing professional communication and collaboration. Professional development will increase the educator's effectiveness and yield visible learning results and develop some long-term positive changes. So and we really are starting to believe now that teachers are the folks that can set a lot of their own professional development. It doesn't have to be administrative led. It doesn't have to be principal led. It needs to be teacher focused, and teachers need to have a strong say in that. The third area was fostering a positive and inclusive environment, and that's what we're looking at this year. So what will happen is April 23rd, a whole bunch of folks come into the district, come into the system, and they just kind of turn us inside out and take a look at that. And that's the area they'll be looking at, fostering a positive and inclusive environment. Because you know what, if a kid doesn't feel safe at school, if a kid doesn't feel accepted at school, if teachers don't have good relationships with kids, if the principal doesn't have good relationships with the teacher, if the superintendent doesn't have good relationships with the board, things start to fall apart, and it's hard to build anything else on top of that.
Right.
So positive and inclusive environment would be great. Kiddo likes that too. Then priority number 4, engaging stakeholders as partners in the success of every student. Holyoke School District is about Holyoke. We're reaching out. How do we support our taxpayers? There are internal stakeholders and external stakeholders.
Right.
And pretty much everyone in Holyoke is associated with the school in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're a taxpayer, whether you're a business that employs our graduates, or whether you're family members and other things like that, we all have a vested interest in these kids. But it's important for the school district to not just focus on the internal stakeholders, which are the teachers and the students, but to branch out and pay attention to the external stakeholders too. Because when you look at what a school district is, a school district doesn't belong to the school board. A school district doesn't belong to the students or even the teachers. The school district belongs to taxpayers.
Right.
And so we've got to have a good connection to that and good support there too.
So obviously, just trying to better things if need be, or make sure that things keep improving is maybe a better way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
As we'll obviously hear more on that as that moves forward more. From there, the board moved to a presentation of McGuffey Award. And what is the McGuffey Award?
Yeah. So, have you ever heard of McGuffey Reader? There are people out there in Radio Land that have heard of those. That was the old elementary readers that like one room schoolhouses and or even schools in the 50s and 60s, probably even into the 70s. That's how a student learned how to read, was through a McGuffey Reader. And so the Colorado Association of School Boards has adopted the McGuffey Award as a recognition for school board members who have served and this school board nominated Chris Camblin, and who's now our ex-president, but he was our president of the school board. So Ken DeLay, the executive director for CASB, came down and presented the award to him.
Right on.
Yeah.
So, I did see pictures on Facebook and stuff, but I've been
good.
the last couple of days. I didn't get to click and actually read the story. So, big congratulations there to Chris Camlin. As from there, board moved to their next item and transportation report. Yeah.
So, we're looking for another a small vehicle. One of our small vehicles, is just it's completely junked out.
Right.
And so. We're looking at another 12-passenger van and kind of going out to bid and auction and things like that, looking for the best price on one. We really see that if you've got another 12-passenger van, we'll be able to have more flexibility with some of our smaller teams, some of our clubs and other things like that because we put on a tremendous amount of miles in a year. I was kind of curious about that. I asked Kim Young to sort of add up the miles that we put on, over the last several years, and they've gone they range from anywhere from 147,000 to 175,000 miles
in a year. Wow.
Yeah, is what we put on. That's about 6 times at 150,000. That's about 6 times around the Earth at the equator. So, and some of those roads are man, down in northern Yuma County, the roads they've been rough lately. Just the mud and the ruts and other things like that. So some of those are very tough miles. And then you've got to think those are our kids,
right,
that are going around that world 6 times, in a year, and our drivers. It's not that they're not important,
Right, exactly.
But we got to have stuff that works well and is reliable, and so I think moving on to another 12-passenger van, it'll cut down on some costs in other ways, and maybe lighten up a little bit on some of those buses. I think the bus with the longest, the most miles this last year was 19,044 miles on one of the activity buses. That's quite a bit,
right?
For a year.
Yep.
So
definitely is.
Yep.
So more on that is once again the board looks at getting a new 12-passenger bus.
Yeah, 12-passenger van. Yeah. We've got one, and so if we have 2, then you can take up to 22 kids.
Right.
Which that definitely covers like a softball team, maybe it all depends. So we have a pretty big softball team this year, but swim teams, golf teams, FBLA, FCCLA, depending on what they're doing, FFA. Sometimes it's just officer retreats and things like that. So
right,
we might be able to cover a lot of areas.
As from there, the board moved to the next item and plan for the reorganization meeting.
Yeah. So the school board meeting was November 7th, which was the night of the election, and then and usually what happens is the election goes pretty fast. The count gets certified, the vote counts get certified, and we're able to certify those votes for the board members and things. But now that with with the fire department mill levy override that needed a recount. What it does, the state law forces you into an 8-day waiting window, and then they recount again. So we weren't able to certify, but the votes came in. There was no need for a recount on the candidates. So then we had to plan for another meeting. You're required within 15 days of the next board meeting, or within the election, 15 days from November 7th, to come up with a reorganization of the board.
Okay.
And so we planned that for Monday, November 13th, and that's kind of why we're sort of lumping those two together in the interview today.
Okay. So obviously more on that as the board will welcome those new school board members.
Yeah.
As from there, final item, the vet ceremony.
Oh, well, so anyway, so 1 second though.
Oh, okay.
So we did have the meeting. Sorry. So we did have the meeting on the 3rd at 6:00. Recognized Mr. Camlin outgoing, Nikki Akey, Chris and Nikki, thank you so much for all the work you've done. Welcoming Trampus Hutchis, John Cleve, and then we began reorganization. So Pat Weavers is our new school board president. Dusty Sprague is the vice president, and Summer Maloney is our secretary, and Trampus Hutchis is our treasurer. And then the rest of the members, Dennis Herman, Lucas Schlachter, and John Cleve are the rest of the board. So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to have the leadership that they're doing. I think that any of those people would do a great job, period. And a board's not made up by one person, or a president's made up by 7 really dynamic people, and I think that's an important part, that come together. I don't really care what your political bent is. I don't really care what pages you like on Facebook, or whether or not you open up every one of Donald Trump's tweets or whatever. What's nice about local politics is these folks are making decisions that are based on the best thing that they can for us and based for these taxpayers.
Right.
And I think they're going to probably be pretty dedicated about that. So I'm excited to work for them.
Welcome to those 3 new board members. Wish them the best of luck. And big thank you to Chris Camlin and Nikki Akey once again. As now we'll move into the vet ceremony.
All right. Yeah, we had a great, I just wanted to sort of touch on it. We had a great Veterans Day ceremony this year, and having connections with other school districts and other superintendents, I was just super impressed with the behavior of our kids, the attendance by folks from the community for the breakfast and for the speeches, and the speech ceremony. And we had 4 kids that delivered their Voice of Democracy speeches. Mm-hmm. Drew Stewart, first place, Taylor Hale, second place, Dylan Miles, third, and Brenna Gatton, fourth place. And all their speeches were great.
Right.
And what I found, and honestly, out of the mouths of babes, it was unity and unification and tolerance and all this kind of stuff that's just exactly the foundation of a strong democracy.
Right.
And so good deal on the American Legion for recognizing that and voting and everything else like that. And I just really appreciated the work that the kids put out. The band sounded terrific, and then Robbie Donan was the guest speaker, a Holyoke High School grad, and on the American Ninja Warrior. So it was just really good. It was an overall good experience for the kids, and I was just really proud of Holyoke High School. I was proud of Susan Ortner for leading that, and I was proud of the teachers for riding herd on kids and making sure that they did that. And then just our elementary sat there. Elementary kids can sometimes be squirrely. Man, they were perfect.
Right.
So, you know what? Good job to everybody. Thanks, parents, for raising good ones.
Well, a big thank you to everybody involved with that, especially the veterans themselves, and a big thank you to you. As we turn our attention towards what's happening in the schools, I know a little bit of a downtime, no high school sports, junior high boys basketball is going. Basketball practice has started, as is wrestling, but no games yet until the 1st of December.
No, that's right. Yeah, your games kind of pick up 1st of December. Boy, the conditioning, though.
I'll bet.
Man, I was watching them the other night. I thought, thank gosh, I'm not in high school anymore. I don't know if this old body would have handled a week of the conditioning. I've been over at the high school a lot because we've had shared leadership and things, and so I pop in and out. And Dilly's got this drill where the kids have got to run and they slide to grab the ball, and then at first they block, so they get ran into, and then they have to run, grab a ball that he rolls one way. They have to get that ball back, and he's already rolling the ball the other way. Floated through. I went to my meeting, and then I came back through. And they got him out in the hallway doing these calisthenics kind of things, this conditioning, and doing push-ups with one hand on a basketball and one hand on the floor.
Right.
So, it's just like, oh, my gosh, these guys, Then you go down to wrestling. They're just, and wrestlers, their conditioning's even worse.
Right.
It's just crazy. But so your kids, if you're in winter sports, they are working hard. That's why they're asleep. And that's probably why they're consuming like 4,000 calories when they come home. So the Holyoke marketplace is probably really, business is booming because parents are going to have to be buying a lot of food to keep up with all those calories being burnt.
Right.
But yeah, and then we got some pretty good little ballers in 7th and 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, they don't look bad.
Right.
So kind of excited about it. Just want to remind everybody also, don't forget about the play.
Yep.
This weekend, Friday night, Saturday night, and we did a teaser at the school on Wednesday, and I just thought it was just it's funny, it's clever, lots of good singing, they really enjoy Monty Python. Doesn't get much more, hamming it up than that. And
right.
We got some real hams in the drama club, so it should be a pretty good time.
Definitely should be. Don't forget about that musical this weekend. Well, as always, I encourage you, if you have any questions about what was talked about in the board meeting, in this board recap interview, or what's happening in the schools, get in contact with Superintendent John McCleary or board members. They'll be happy to answer your questions for you. John, anything else before I let you go?
Nope. Just hope everybody has a happy, healthy, and safe Thanksgiving.
Yep. You do the same.
You
we'll
bet.
see you afterwards.
Thanks.